Hey YouTube, how you doing? This is Real Talk, and I'm coming to you with a new episode. And in this episode, we're going to be discussing protecting our children, private versus public schools. I did a little bit of research on this topic, and I would like to share my my conclusions to this research. So, with that said, let's get started. Okay, I found this article, which the link will be in the description. If you want to go ahead and take a look at it, it's a pretty good article. Choosing a school, public or private. Private versus public. It's a debate that ranges across the playgrounds and living rooms of America. In fact, according to a 2009 Grade Schools and Harris Interactive poll, nearly 1 in 4 parents are currently considering switching their child's school either from private to public or public to private as a result of the economy. The bottom line. The most obvious discrepancy between public and private schools comes down to cold hard cash. The good news for parents is that public schools cannot charge tuition, i.e. free. The bad news is that public schools are complicated, often underfunded operations influenced by political wind and shortfalls. Financed through federal, state, and local taxes, public schools are part of a larger school system which functions as part of the government and must follow the rules and regulations set by politicians. So that's why they get to dictate what is to be taught in the public schools. The politicians do. Now let's get down a couple of paragraphs to the potential benefits of private schools accrue from their independence. See, they're free. Private schools do not receive tax revenues, so they do not have to follow the same sort of regulations and bureaucratic processes that govern and sometimes hinder public schools. This allows many private schools to be highly specialized, offering differentiated learning, advanced curriculum, and programs geared towards specific religious beliefs. There are exceptions to such generalizations. Charter and magnet schools are increasingly common public schools that often have a special educational focus or theme. Okay, so basically, it turns out that the private school is superior to public school, but the main downfall is cost, and that's why most of us don't send our children to private schools because we can't afford to. But yes, we can. Because now that brings us to this. Other article I found. Public school versus homeschool. What are the differences? Public school versus homeschool has become the number one educational question for many families over the past 30 years. The large public high school, complete with locker and social cliques, is an American icon. Okay, so that's public school. Families embrace homeschooling over public schooling for a wide variety of reasons, but several reasons continue to rise to the top. I once conducted an informal poll of about 70 homeschool families to see why they had chosen this educational option for their families. The top 10 reasons they listed in random order were religion, safety, academic quality, travel, positive socialization with people of different ages, family togetherness, separation of government and school, tailored student learning plans, emphasis on mastery instead of grades, private school expenses. You see, private school expenses. Families faced with the decision of public school versus homeschooling often have religious reasons at the top of their list. These families want to incorporate Bible study and prayer into their day. They want to discuss literature, history, science, and current events in light of their religious beliefs. It's First Amendment. Many homeschool families like to travel together as part of their education. It is one thing to read about Renaissance art or look at prints on the internet. It is quite another thing to see the originals. So, you get to travel without restriction. Separation of government and school. In the history of the world, mandatory attendance at public school is relatively a new development. Many homeschool families believe that the responsibility for the child's education rests primarily with the family. So let's see what God has to say about it. Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Proverbs 1:8. Hear, my son, your father's instruction, and forsake not your mother's teaching. Unfortunately, what's going on is that the public schools are denying Christ, because we clearly see how they're removing prayer, they're removing all references to God out of the public schools. But then you got to remember that those schools have to adhere to the rules and regulations of the so-called government, IEI government, which is is basically well, we know what that is. But let's see what God has to say about denying him. King James Bible, Matthew 10:33. But whosoever shall deny me before men, him will I also deny before my Father which is in heaven. So as we see, since the school wants to deny Christ, and many of us love Christ, we don't want that to happen. But then again, we have the option of privately training our children, which is at home. So you have that option for those of you that don't know about it. But I'm sure a lot of you know already. But the problem remains that the mother and the father are going to say, well, how can we do this? I mean, I got a large mortgage. The mother can't afford to stay home. Well, here's God produces another option. Now, this is what's called the tiny house. The tiny house movement, also known as the small house movement, is a description for the architectural and social movement that advocates living simple in small homes. There is currently no set definition of what constitutes a tiny house. However, a residential structure under 500 square feet is generally accepted to be a tiny home. Now, this could potentially be a way to cut down on mortgage costs, to cut down on being trapped into one area of employment, because sometimes there's maybe in your line of work there's job layoffs and cutbacks, and you need to move to a different demographic for employment. Well, if you were on wheels, instead of you having to put your home on the market, try to sell it, then you got to worry whether it's a seller or buyer's market, and then you got to worry about all those different variables. You can just pack up your family, attach it to a truck that can haul this much weight if you're capable, or get a friend to help you if you're not capable, but get someone to safely transport these houses and take your home with you. This is equivalent of what's called a custom RV, because it has wheels, as you can see in the picture in the middle. And there's another one where it doesn't have wheels. I think this had wheels, but they covered it up and they anchored it to the land, which makes it more of a permanent home. The municipalities and cities don't really care for this, because now they can't tax the house as long as it's on wheels, because it's considered a mobile. So it has a different taxing issue. There are pros and cons to this, and like I said, I'm going to leave this link in the description for you so you can go check out this article yourself. But what I'm getting at is, maybe this is one way for us to try to start to resolve some of the issues that we all commonly face in today's society. If we learn how to live more simply with less things, if we start to train our child up as God has commanded us in the Bible, the system that's currently in place is designed for both parents to be at work, and that is almost impossible nowadays, because I mean, both parents have to work for a large mortgage, and it just makes things difficult. Anyway, I'm not sure what's going on with this video, but this is like the fourth time that I try to record this video, and apparently somebody's not trying to have me record it. We all know who that is. Anyway, I just wanted to share these views and thoughts with you guys, and I welcome your comments and the comments on the comments section. Maybe this is just one part of an idea of how we can all honor God and still maintain our somewhat of an existence here on earth until our Lord Jesus Christ comes back for us, and we don't harm our fellow man on top of that. So I welcome all the comments of everyone, and give me some of your ideas of what you think. This is going to wrap it up for this episode, and this is Real Talk signing out, and I'm going to catch up with you guys next time.